Today I'm interviewing one of our featured composers, Jodi Goble, about her upcoming piece that we premiered back in May of 2019 at our last Co-College residency concert. Now we are getting ready to perform it on August 11th at 7 p.m. at Co-College in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and will be featured on our second album. So, Jodi, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe a kind of a brief background?
Sure. I'm associate teaching professor of voice at Iowa State, so I'm really close to Cedar Rapids. But I wasn't born in Iowa. I grew up in Indiana, and I'm a violinist and a pianist, and I have degrees in performance and in collaborative piano. And composing is something that I started when I was a child and continued through my student days and kind of got away from in graduate school as I got busier with other things, and came back to as an adult in my 20s. And it has become something that is increasingly a bigger and bigger part of my musical life.
Wow, that's pretty fantastic. All right, and then what was your inspiration for writing Helen of Troy?
Well, I always start with the poem, and and I've loved this poem for a long time, but it's a long poem, as you know. We've done the piece, and it seemed a little bit too epic to just do for voice and piano, which is the vast majority of what I've written are art songs for voice and piano. So when you reached out to me about this project, it just seemed like a really good fit. And especially when I found out that Laura Lee was a mezzo, just kind of a no-brainer. So I started with the poem. It's written by Sarah Teasdale. It's from a 1920 collection of poems called Helen of Troy and Other Poems. And she did sort of an interesting thing, Sarah Teasdale. She has a whole boatload of these long epic poems, and they're all sort of early 20th century retellings of historical bad girls like Helen and Guinevere and Sappho. And she has, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them. Helen's my favorite.
Nice. Well, that's really cool. And so can you tell us a little bit more about how you came up with the text for the vocal feature?
Well, Sarah Teasdale is, she's self-identified as an imagist poet. This was a very short-lived school of poetry around the beginning of the 20th century, and Ezra Pound gets credit for starting it, but actually he was very, very strongly influenced by Yoni Noguchi, who is a Japanese poet who immigrated to the United States and was the first Asian poet to write and publish in English in the 1870s through the early part of the 1900s before he moved back to Japan. So the style of poetry is sort of the beginnings of non-rhymed blank verse because it's so heavily influenced by Japanese lyric poetry.
Okay.
And it's great for composers. Composers set these songs a lot, these poems a lot, because the poets were always thinking about the length and space of a breath. And so there's a lot of repetition and parallel structure in the poems, lines that are almost the same, but not quite the same. That's really, really great for musical structure, as you can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
And everything is sort of like very graceful, lots of nature images, and they read as very modern once you set them to music, even though they're a century old, because they don't have rhyme or meter. Wow. So whenever I'm wondering what I'm going to use, I tend to go back and look at that school of poetry, which has the added benefit of being in the public domain and not having to worry about copyright.
Oh, yeah.
And get text permission. Yeah,
that's nice.
I could give you an entire other interview on text permission.
Oh, so, wow. Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then you did mention Laura Lee Songer, and you knew that she was at Co-College where the residency was at the time. So I guess how did you come up with wanting to collaborate with her? Is that somebody you've always wanted to collaborate with?
I think actually that it was you who suggested Laura Lee as someone who was at Co and was
Okay.
available. Yeah. But I had heard of her, and I was, a fabulous singer, fabulous person. I was super happy to write her something. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. 2 years have passed since then, and a pandemic. So things have kind of
Man, it seems like
slipped out of
longer
my
than 2
mind over
years.
here.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's an excellent vocalist, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure. And she just won that award.
Yeah, that
Yeah, that's
even better.
fantastic.
Yeah, we got that's something else we're looking forward to. We have award-winning vocalist coming up and recording with us, so that's an added bonus, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
So next, well, can you tell the viewers about any future projects that you have coming up besides
Well,
the one with us?
besides, I'm really excited to hear Helen again. It's always, it feels really good to hear something performed for the second time. And instead of doing all the work and having it done once, and then, it never sees the light of day again. So I'm very happy about that. But my next project is a chamber opera. I just finished it and sent the piano vocal score off to the company, and they're hiring the singers as we speak. So Sea Glass Theater Company in New Bedford, Massachusetts commissioned me 3 years ago to write a chamber opera for women's voices about the role of women and the experience of women during the whaling industry heyday in Massachusetts. And that's so New Bedford and Nantucket are where most of these women are from. So I spent, and it's been pushed back 3 times because of the pandemic, but that was a good thing because it gave me more time to research. So I've been singing lots of sea chanties, and I've been researching ship logs and journal entries and letters, all of the documents left behind by these women and the people around them. So it's less a constructed libretto than it is a found libretto, but I'm really excited to hear it put on its feet. And that's October 2nd. At Siemens Bethel. Siemens Bethel is a sort of classic New England chapel, and they filmed Moby Dick there in the 1950s. And when they filmed it there, the Hollywood people came in and said, this is a great space, but it's not dramatic enough. And so they built around the pulpit of this chapel a rowboat. So whoever stands there looks like they're standing in a boat. And when they left, Gregory Peck had touched that boat, so nobody wanted to tear it down.
Yeah.
so the rowboat is still there, and I can't think of a better place to do a little chamber opera about the whaling industry than a church with a boat in it.
Oh wow! So,
yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And we will link that on this post here, and I'll give you some more information about that too.
Sure.
That's fantastic. Let's see here. All right, and then our last little thing, since you have worked with us, and it was only that one time, but we get to do it again when we're all excited about it. I know you said it is good to have a second performance, and that's one thing. Just as playing with a group, it's fun to play it a second time, especially when we like the piece and we like this piece. And so yeah, we're definitely looking forward to playing it again. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about what it's like working with the Durward Ensemble?
Sure. I knew I was going to have a good time collaborating with this group when you reached out to me and asked me to write a piece, and I got back to you and said, can we add a singer? Which just automatically made it a more comfortable thing for me. And you said, absolutely. I was like, okay, so these people are clearly great musicians, but they're also super flexible, and they're willing to, kind of meet me where I am in my comfort zone. And I just knew it was going to be a great experience, and it really has been. Yeah,
now you're jogging that memory. I do remember that now, and I remember saying, "Oh yeah, well, Laura Lee Songer is here, and she would be great for that." So, yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, Jodi, thank you for being here today. Look out for the project on August 11th. At 7 p.m. Co College, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And also look out for her future project at the Sea Glass Theater in October. If you'd like more information about Jodi Goble, or Durward, please visit our websites and they will be featured on this post. Or if you'd like to contribute to our organization, you can do that through our website. You can donate to our current Facebook fundraiser, which is going through the 22nd, I believe, or would like to sponsor Durward Ensemble, you can email me or the group at durwardensemble@gmail.com.